here it comes.
As Keki kicks him before he can be punked. Can they interrupt it? Nicely done by
NCE.
Boom! Yeah!
We're back! LCS is back, and we're back with more fantasy previews. If you're new to this series is basically just me looking at champ select data and the upcoming schedule to help you guys make your decisions in fantasy. As always, leave any questions down below and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. For the top lane, K'Sante, Jax, and Ornn have all been among the top picks in LCS in week 1. All are very viable going into the patch with various pros and cons. K'Sante is the most picked with 6 picks, however leads the way with 7 bans. The ban rate isn't as worrisome as it seems. Only 3 of the 7 bans are in phase 1, so K'Sante probably isn't a champ that LCS teams view as OP enough to completely deny away. You might want to check if your top laner plays on a team with a mid laner who plays K'Sante as well. K'Sante is a great flex option at the moment, so you should be wary if teams are choosing to flex at mid lane. In the case of that, I'd probably look to choose one of the other options. Jax has a great pick ban rate with 5 picks and 1 ban. He gets through a lot and is picked a lot. The top lane meta is clearly very tank focused, with Jax being the carry top of choice. I'd consider choosing him if your top laner is on one of the better teams in the league like C9, or if your top laner is a known carry player like Summit. But if your top laner is on a middle tier team, having them play Jax probably doesn't help their odds to pull off an upset, so I'd probably stick with one of the tanks. Ornn also has a good pick ban rate of 5 picks and 0 bans, but the win rate is very worrisome, only picking up 1 win in the last 5. The LCS prioritizes Ornn much more than the other leagues, with options like Gragas, Renekton, Gnar, and Sion being picked much more. Part of me wonders if this is enough to dissuade teams from picking it next week, but we'll just have to wait and see. Gragas and Sion are the second tier of options, each being picked 3 times last week. Malphite is also being picked at the same rate, but it's just Haunter one-tricking the champ. Consider it if you have Haunter, but I'm guessing not a lot of you do. Jungle Pool is a lot wider this split compared to Spring, so Sejuani is pulled away as the S tier option with 7 picks and 2 bans, but other than that, there's a lot of options, 7 champions with 2+ picks. I'd be a bit more wary of Kindred, Wukong, and Maokai because they have pretty high ban rates, and I would definitely avoid Vi. She was banned in 14 out of 15 games last week. But other than that, Kha'Zix, Wukong, Kindred, Viego, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Maokai, they're all decent options. In mid lane, Annie and Ahri are the clear S tier options going into next week with 8 picks each. Gragas is a good option with 4 picks, and then look out for the rise of static ship mid laners like LeBlanc. It's become super popular worldwide, and LCS mid laners have had another week to practice the playstyle. For the bot lane, Aphelios is the clear number 1 option with 13 picks and only 1 ban. Lucian and Zeri are the best secondary options, but personally I would just choose Aphelios because you're probably guaranteed at least 1 play on it for every AD carry in the league. In the LCS, Milio is left available more option than the rest of the top regions like the LEC, LCK, and LPL, and is likely still going to be a good pick going into week 2. Yuumi is banned much more often, and you should probably avoid her. Other than that, Lulu is the option to pair with Aphelios when Milio is banned, and like always, Nami is paired with Lucian. Rakan saw a decent amount of play with a couple of Xayah games, but probably isn't relevant enough to consider picking. As always, if your bot laner and support are on the same team, pair your picks. If you're gonna pick Aphelios, pick Milio or Lulu. If you're gonna choose Lucian, pick Nami as your support. Simple. Just to recap what was said before, in top lane I highly recommend K'Sante, Jax, and Ornn. In the jungle, pick Sejuani. Mid lane, Annie and Ahri. AD carry Aphelios, and support go Milio. The strength of schedule data this early into the season doesn't hold as much weight as it normally does. I don't think it's a hot take to say that FlyQuest and Golden Guardians are not bottom tier teams, so the opposition records of a few schedules are likely a bit deflated. Immortals have a very good schedule going into next week and could very well keep up their hot start to the season. They're going to go up against a pretty weak TSM side, Golden Guardians in poor form, and 100 Thieves who are going to be introducing Quid into their lineup. I rate 100 Thieves and Quid very highly, but it's a tough ask to have him step into the LCS immediately and start performing. But I'm not going to act as if I've ever watched him play, so maybe he is on just another tier, similar to Berserker and Prince. I'd probably stay away from the NRG players at the moment, and this might be the week to look at a different option in the waiver wire if you have one. My first look would be to grab any EG and TL players if they're still in the wire, and then look towards IMT. Thanks for watching, see you next week.